Good morning, everybody. And if it's 9 o'clock or maybe a couple of minutes afterwards in the old Pueblo on every Friday here at Encantada and Steam Pump, we are going to be around. And I want to thank everybody, especially the in-house guests, people watching on Facebook Live or on YouTube, and welcome to all the people that don't have the time to get with us today and can archive us later in the week. Anyway, my name is John Waechter. My partner in crime this week is David Camara, and we're going to be talking for the next hour plus on a variety of good sales topics. But first, in our perspectives block, I want to talk to the audience here in session about what the actual effect of the latest Supreme Court ruling on affirmative action is to the world. And I say that it's dangerously political, and we don't want to get into the political aspect of it or the emotional aspect of it, but I want to talk about the applicability of it in this day and age versus 50, 60 years ago when it was critically important to so many groups that were being discriminated against. So basically what happened is the court rejected the argument that colleges have to adhere to certain affirmative action styles. Now, the community college industry, because it is an industry, it's a business. Anyway, it might be owned by a county or whatever, but there's like 5 or 6 community colleges in Phoenix, for example. They compete like crazy for that post-high school 2-year degree of, and not only that is, there's other educational resources like Pima Medical School here in Tucson, which is quite large and very private. You know, it's a for-profit. They have a slew of 2-year programs where people that are 17, 18 years old go in and get a vocation of some sort, whether it be auto mechanics, welding, medical assistant, you know, some sort of healthcare related situation. And the need for a 4-year degree is simply not as prominent in the cultural mindset as it used to be. So my question to the audience is, do you guys feel whether you're good, bad, indifferent for that is not my question. The question is it as applicable as everybody thinks it is, or is it more image and emotional high charge type of language, or is it really got substance and detail? Because you can become a welder, and before the age of 20, you'll be making $50 an hour as a welder, for example, and that's $100,000 a year, and you're at the age of 20 making $100,000 a year. You can do that for 5 decades, and you can be $5 million gross pay, contributing to your Social Security, which by that time will probably going to be at the age of 75 or so. But anyway, any thoughts from the audience on the applicability of this new ruling?
As opposed to the value of a 4-year college degree? I didn't know which question you were.
Well, it's just, yes, more and more people are opting out of a college degree. So in terms of a vocation, because there are no plumbers in the pipeline. There are no welders in the pipeline. There are no, electricians and HVAC people. And these, if you know anybody in our networking group, there's a lot of those owners that are always looking for people to train, always looking for, so the question is, if you can make that kind of money into vocations, does getting into a college matter as much as it used to when that particular type of education is not really germane to your career anymore,
I know any number of people who went into debt, huge amount of debt for a college degree. So often they get a degree in something that that is of no
Yeah.
employment value, then they regret it. But I come from people with trades background, and in my social uh, circles, I've known people that owned companies in trade who made more than the doctors who went to
Yes.
school multiple years.
Yes.
So
And without the debt.
I don't have a college degree myself. I wasn't afforded the opportunity. Um, my trade in sales
Mm-hmm.
and insurance, you have to kind of learn as you go because there's really
Yeah, there's no college degree in sales training. There's no,
or insurance for that matter.
right, exactly right.
So-
Maria, you got a perspective or
Well,
opinion?
I think exactly the same as her. I don't have a college degree myself, and I've been a business executive in banking, in banks in Mexico. I've had my career in real estate. I've I've been the producer and host of a television program. I've been in radio, print, doing TV commercials for Arizona, Florida, and I've never had a college degree. But I think it's just the willingness and hunger of learn, be better every day, and know that your capacity is non-stop.
Gotcha. Did you ever go to college?
Yeah, I actually have an advanced degree.
Do you?
And I got jobs in my degrees too. So yeah, I have a little bit different perspective. I think that there's a lot more benefit to going to college than just the degree. There's a lot in the social interaction and a lot of things that are sort of intangible.
Did you live on campus somewhere?
Some of the time I did, and
Yeah.
some of the time I lived off campus. But I think that you know, in the past, if you had a degree, there was a connotation that you would automatically have a certain type of job.
Right.
And the reality, especially nowadays, is that regardless of what type of degree you have, there's still, you know, on-the-job training after you get that job. It's not, you know, a complete shoe-in. Even if you're a doctor, you still don't just walk in and that's it.
Right.
You know, but there are certain professions where you do need the degree, like being an attorney or being a doctor, where you have to have that. So you kind of have to weigh, you know, where your position is and what
And-
opportunities you want.
And that's part of the question. Is society, from our perspectives, the question is society moving away? Like all of a sudden, you know, the community colleges and all of the various private institutions that offer vocational training, is that making, like if you talk to an admissions person at a major university, you know, they're stressed out, you know, because they're trying to stay up with the costs. They're trying to get federal reimbursements. They're trying to increase their population. And
I think that's really the biggest problem with higher education right now, regardless of what level, is that they've essentially priced themselves out of the market.
yeah, like for instance, I got an MBA from USC. If I had to do that today, there is no way in holy heck I could afford that. Not even close. Not even close. Plus, you know, my alma mater used to take pretty much anybody like me to get an MBA. Now they only take the top 3%. They take like 1,500 students a year, and an annual rate of, you know, well into the tens of thousands for tuition, books, and on-campus living and stuff like that. So anyway, that's just it. Any thoughts as an African American?
Definitely. I think I would probably agree with you. You know, I had the opportunity to go to Temple University, and
An owl.
yes, an owl. Yes, definitely an owl. And to this day, I have to have built so many businesses. You know, I talk with my kids. I recognize today that it's definitely understanding that college is not necessary for you to be successful, but the intangibles you talk about are the things that I myself would say, that's why I would still want my kids to go to college, right? for people understanding, what is it like to, sometimes college puts you in a position where you're put in with different populations that you
Yes.
maybe not necessarily
Very,
ever
very
dealing
true.
with, right?
Very true.
Learning diversity through proximity. Other things, learning how to live on your own. I mean, me myself, going on campus was the first time I ever learned how to be in an apartment and what is it to pay rent, and these are things, it's weird. Those are little things that I'm like, I learned that going to college,
That's true.
those are things that I'm like, maybe if I didn't go to college, maybe, I don't know. Me joining different groups in school, learning leadership skills, learning some of the prerequisites that we're forced to take. Sometimes what it does is actually make you learn things that you would never have to learn. And some of those things are intangible to people actually, growing as people, and upgrading themselves. Because sometimes, if you didn't have to learn something, you would never learn it. And so sometimes what college does is put you in a position where you can learn those things, like diversity, like African American studies, where some schools that's part of this, that's actually something that people do learn. And those are sometimes are the first time people ever learn any of those things, unfortunately. So in my opinion, I agree with the fact that college offers people intangible things, that it's not necessarily the degree that you need, but the process, the journey. A lot of times when you're hiring people, it's not about actually where you went to school or what degree that you got. In reality, what people are hiring is the fact that somebody started something and finished it. And that's really the process that people are really measuring, the fact that you can actually start something and finish something. And that's what I believe the value in college today.
Well, that's to a person that's in front of a hiring manager doing an interview.
Yeah.
That hiring manager is looking about, do you finish what you start?
That's it.
There's no question about that. Did you have another?
I was just gonna say, I learned all those, 2 weeks after I got my diploma, I was, out, in my first insurance office job. And moved, shortly thereafter, moved away from home, commuted, bought a car, learned to pay bills, learned how to dress to
Yeah.
show up at the office. It was a diverse
Yeah.
population. I learned all that stuff in practical school.
That's good. But that's you. Do you understand? All you're talking about is you're thinking about yourself. You're singly saying, well, I did it, but that's not how life works, right?
Well, but you two, with your advanced degrees, you have a degree in something specific.
Correct.
My daughter got a degree in American Studies.
Yeah.
She then went back and got an MS in business, but she complained a while back that she wished she hadn't spent the time and money because it wasn't netting
Yeah,
her
yeah.
any advantage in her work situation.
Yeah, the ROI is always going to be debatable.
Right.
When it comes to that kind of
most people
stuff.
would still agree with your last statement, which is, does the paper equal what we paid for in loans or what we might get later? And maybe not. But once again, that's not necessarily what we were talking about. We were just talking about some other intangible things that are learned.
So in my office job, I'm there pushing paper and solving problems and learning customer service. They hired management trainees who had just graduated with a degree and put them with me for me to train them on the practical,
Right,
aspects of
exactly
the
right.
business.
And our therapist will be in the lobby afterwards.
Yeah.
So we're good. It's complimentary as well.
I think she might be up here. Aren't you a counselor?
Not officially.
Not officially.
But one of the things that I think that is very much overlooked, and that you were speaking about with being with different groups and stuff during the college experience, is that you are forced to take some classes that you normally wouldn't, and that helps you actually identify where you want to be and where you don't want to be. And so, that's one of the things with, people who change
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
their focus is, all the way through. I mean, I changed my major, I don't know, 5
Yeah,
times.
that's like average person
But
does
it's
that.
because you find things that that you didn't know about that you're interested in, and things that you thought that you were, that once you get into it more,
Yeah,
you
you're like,
really
I
don't
don't
want.
care about
you
this.
know?
Yeah.
I had to take Psych 101 and I had to take tax. Both of those were just,
Tax, as in taxation?
yeah, the, the fundamentals of the taxing, of the IRS and the taxing authority and how to do a tax return and all that kind of stuff. Even though I was in business,
I learned that the hard way.
I didn't want any part of that stuff. But anyway, we got to move on. Thank you all so much for all your comments and contributions. David, take it away. You know what you're doing.
Yep.
All right. Be well.
All right. How you guys doing today? Once again, this is David Camara. So today, I just wanted to talk about, obviously, as we know here, we're coming here to learn things, sales activities, sales techniques. And a lot of times, I think when you talk about people who are great in sales or who have success in life, a lot of things is deal with a shift in mentality, or I would say they focus on certain things more, right? And so today what we want to do is we're going to go over a variety of topics and just talk about maybe where do we shift our mentality and where do we focus actually on, right? So one of the first things I usually think about in terms of this is sort of having what I say, having a fixed versus a growth mentality, right? Obviously, who in here has heard, obviously, having a fixed versus a growth mentality? Raise your hand if you have, okay? When you talk about having a fixed mentality, what that understanding is that it's basically breaking down that you believe that people have your talent is you were born with a certain level of talent, and it's finite, right? Is the understanding that you're either just smart or you're not. You either get it or you don't. This is, unfortunately, most people do actually have a fixed mentality. And when you want to be a person who's going to be growing and actually get better in something, it's the understanding that most people have to understand that you actually have the ability to grow yourself, right? Grow your mind, grow your skills, and grow your thoughts as well. So when you have a growth mentality, this is the understanding that through effort, right? When you actually put in the effort and to learn something, you can actually get better at it. So the fact that most people in this room obviously have a growth mentality because you're actually here to learn and to actually say, you know what, if I actually put in the times, learn the knowledge, put in the tools, I can actually get better at this, right? Even when I first started something, where I'm going to end up all ends up on your ability to put in the effort, in the time, and to put in the effort over time consistently. So recognizing we want to go away from having a fixed mentality and focus on having a growth mentality, right? Another concept I like to talk about is this concept of really skill versus will. So a lot of my teachers used to always tell me, guess what? You know what, David? I can teach you the skills. I can teach you to do the work. I can teach you what to say, how to say it. But the reason you're going to be successful in sales is going to come down to your will. Meaning, what are you willing to do? Guys, guess what? Me, Don, John can tell you everything till we're blue in the face. But who actually has to go do the work? You do. Who actually has to go make the calls? You do, right? Who actually has to put in the consistency? You do. In the end of the day, unfortunately, people today are really searching for what's the magic bullet. How do I do it? What do I really got to say? And guess what? When you talk about some of the most successful people in any industry, it's really the people who understand, guess what? If I do enough work over time consistently, I will yield results. And guess what? The more you do it, the better you get at it, and things become intangible to you, and that's how you're going to be successful. So when thinking about skill over will, a lot of people are all focused on how I get all these skills, but do you have the willingness to actually go out and get your job done, right? So
One of my favorite things,
Yeah.
I own a copy of The Pursuit of Happiness.
okay,
And when I get low on motivation,
Right.
I have to get it out and watch it every couple of years.
yeah.
And I saw it again just not too long ago. he was very handicapped by his circumstances,
Mm-hmm.
but he certainly had the will and,
The Will
you know,
Smith version, or?
yes.
Yeah. That's an amazing story. And I know, and that's a story I like to show my sons that story all the time, because it's really a testament to just that, right? To just really saying bootstrapping and saying the willingness to show up every day. Sometimes, a lot of they say, the luckiest people are the people who just are the busiest and work the hardest. Working hard is what's going to make you lucky, right? And us recognizing, do we have it? And so and a lot of times less focus, it's not that these things don't matter, but guys recognize that less focus on the will, putting the work in and actually doing more. The people who are more successful than others, guess what? And I know you can attest to this. Guess what? The willingness to do what others are not going to do is what's going to separate you from most people who are out there. Because unfortunately, most people are not willing to do the work. So let's focus.
He had to focus also on being more efficient because he was limited by the need to take care of his son.
Of course.
He couldn't put in the hours. He
Out.
had to do more in less
Yes, and
time and move to the top of the list instead of starting at the bottom and calling, every name, getting no, no, no. He just went, I don't have time for this, and he went.
Right.
He worked smarter, not harder.
Smarter and not harder. Guys, and how many people are put in the situations where, guess what? Life matters, right? We are all dealt cards. It's about what we do with the cards that we're dealt. And this really goes to that, and understanding that sometimes it's about what your willingness to do. I like this, talking about this. Talking about the 3 zones, okay? The comfort zone, the learning zone, and the danger zone. Okay? The danger zone. Why is this important in terms of, what we do and what we're in pursuit of? Unfortunately today, people say you want to be successful, you want to do more, you want to learn more, but in reality, you want to do that and still be comfortable. Guys, unfortunately, when you're in the comfort zone, you're not really learning. That doesn't happen. You have to leave your comfort zone to enter the learning zone, right? What does that mean? That means you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? The willingness to do things outside things you're used to. That's the only way we learn, okay? And the only way we grow our comfort zone is by doing things that make us uncomfortable. What does that mean? So obviously, I have a large background in knocking on a lot of doors. Okay, the first time I went out and knocked on the door, I was scared. Right, I was very scared. I remember the first time I was going out with somebody, knocking on the door, and then I heard the footstep coming, and I was like, okay, maybe we should try the next door. Right, guys, in reality, But after my 1,000th door of knocking, how I see a door completely changes. And that's the same thing we have to think about. Whatever you're trying to do, the levels you're trying to reach, recognize like if I'm still being comfortable what I'm doing, I'm actually not pushing myself. So if you're in pursuit of being great or getting better at what you're doing, you have to be willing to push yourself past that comfort zone and be willing to be uncomfortable. So the willingness to get out of the comfort zone and and get into the learning zone. But that doesn't mean we have to get into the danger zone, right? So when you get to the danger zone, that means that you're in a level and an experience where you're not even capable of learning because you're in the fire, right? Obviously, no one is telling you to do that, but let's be the people willingness to step over that threshold and say, you know what? I'm willing to be uncomfortable. What does that mean? In terms of maybe regardless of the career that you have to be willing to do sometimes, like he was talking about, maybe cold calling people. That's scary to people, right? Right? I hate cold calling. Well, that's because you're uncomfortable doing it. those are things that are necessary to do. And when you start getting over that uncomfortability, you will start to learn skills in dealing with people who don't know you already. When you start to learn those skills, when you're actually with people who already know you, you'll actually be better at actually overcoming objections. You'll actually be able to handle things even better by the willingness to be uncomfortable. Okay, another thing is I like this one, the ability.
Go back a second and
Yeah.
describe the danger zone.
Yeah.
That's when you carried it too far.
Correct. So how I explained it was how was I explaining it was like, okay, so let's just say I have a fear of dogs. Okay? When I was younger, I was scared of dogs. Okay? My friends would like to play a joke on me. My friend, he had a big Rottweiler, okay? And his Rottweiler obviously is friendly to him, okay? But every time we used to pass his road, okay, and he had those invisible fence. You guys know what the invisible fences are for dogs, okay? And he had the invisible fence, and they used to love to be like, okay, they're like, oh, set up Dave, you know? And so he would make sure his dog was out when I had to go past his house. And obviously, I know there's an invisible fence, okay? But unfortunately, it's like, you know, you're not, if you're scared of dogs, you're not going to go to the junkyard, and you're not going to try to play catch with a dog to figure out to break that fear of dogs, right? It's understanding you're pushing the limit too far, and that's not how you're going to be able to overcome it. But we do in small steps, right? And so, you know, learning, okay, you know what? Learning that, you know what? Getting to know that dogs, understand that dogs is, most of the time, most dogs are more scared of you than you are of them. And a lot of times, some of that aggressive behavior is really warning behavior. And recognizing, okay, you know, maybe I have to show myself and learn maybe what's the correct way do I put my hands out to a dog, right? And what's the right way to protect myself? Or how do I approach dogs I don't know? Learning willingness to get out of my comfort zone, at least willingness to try. Slowly but surely you can get closer to it. But you don't need to jump in the deep end if you don't know how to swim, right? You don't go into the ocean going past the riptide trying to say, I'm going to learn how to swim. That's going to the danger zone, right? But the willingness to go out there, you know what? Maybe today I might go past me tippy toes, right? And maybe just sort of starting to learn how to get past the holding on the side of the road, side of the pool. And so just making sure that you don't push yourself to the danger zone because you won't learn, right? In fact, you'll be over, all your senses are being pushed to the level where you're not able to learn. So just making sure that we know that there's a danger zone. We don't need to push yourself that far, but recognize that I do need to be willing to be a little bit uncomfortable, and that's okay. And learning to be comfortable being uncomfortable so that we're constantly growing and learning. Does that make sense? Great. I think another ability is abilities to make things small. Make things smaller, right? Make things smaller or make things more consumable. What do I mean? A lot of times, I think people who are great in sales or even just great success in life, they understand you still need to achieve bigger things, but it's how we look at it is what's the difference, right? And so everyone has heard the adage, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? And so what does that mean? It's just make things more consumable. Okay, so when a lot of times I remember for us, I'll just use myself, right? Maybe going out and knocking. People saying we used to have to knock on 100 doors, okay? 100 doors sounds like a lot. But in reality, you say, well, over 5 hours, right? 20 doors, you break it down, right? Just learn to break things down. So I have to knock on 100 doors today. Like, wow, that's a lot. But guess what? Your ability to make things smaller, make things more achievable, makes your willingness to get over and achieve those things even easier. So 100 doors, you break that up to 5 hours, what's that? 20 doors an hour. Oh, that's not too bad, right? Then now an hour, you split an hour in half. What is that, 30 minutes? That's only 10 doors every 30 minutes, Now you've just broken that down to say, wow, I can easily do that. So learning to be like, whatever task you need to do, learn how to make things smaller and break them up so they become consumable. So when we talk about making sales calls or putting out, getting leads or putting out prospects, guys, a lot of people say, oh, I have to talk to this many people. Well, yes, guess what? You have to know your numbers and know what you need to do, but learn how to break it down and make things smaller for yourself so those actually give you the ability to make things more achievable for yourself. So learning to make things smaller, break them up so they can become more consumable. Okay? Another thing, I like these. I think another thing is that focusing on learning to have short memory. What do I mean by that? Okay, guess what? You have to be able to, you forget your failures and your shortfalls, okay, quickly, but be able to remember the good times as well, right? So learning that, guess what? Whenever you're in a moment, recognize that you always have another opportunity to be able to make a sale or make another call or contact another prospect, right? So learning to have shorter memory so that you're not necessarily actually put in a position to make yourself feel like, wow, does this single moment or this failure represent who I am? Forget about it. That's the whole point, right? They always say, I use a basketball analogy. They always say, shoot or shoot, right? What does that mean? It doesn't matter if Steph Curry misses 7 shots on a row. He doesn't remember, he doesn't care. Why? Because I know that eventually I'm going to make it. And that's what you have to recognize, right? You as a person knowing that you know that you have the skill set, you know you have the knowledge, you have a good product, you know what you're doing, and guess what? Understand, just keep going through the motion sometimes because it will eventually get there. So having a short memory makes you be able to recover fast with that, right? I like this one. The 3 Ps, okay? Boom. The first one is, I say picture, promote, and protect. Let me break that down. Okay. Great people in sales or great people who are just successful in life, they understand having vision, right? They understand the big picture. They picture what they're going to do. They picture their success already. So when you start your day, when you start your work day or start your week, you want to picture what you want in the end. Picture what you want to achieve today, what we want to achieve this week, what I want to achieve at the end of the month, or what I want to achieve at the end of the year. But we have to have a picture. Unfortunately, a lot of people, if you don't picture it already, you're less likely to achieve anything if you haven't seen it in your head first. So first, we're going to picture it, right? That's the first thing you want to do, the first P. The next P is promote, right? Promote it. What does that mean? You have to talk about your goals, okay? You promote it. Talk about it, right? Talk about it to yourself. Today, oh man, today I'm gonna ring the bell today, right? Today I'm making sure to hit my goals today. I'm gonna hit my goals. So you're talking about it, right? That's the first step. The second step is accountability. So guess what? Talk to someone else about it, right? Hey, you know what? I just wanted to let you know today, my job today is gonna ring the bell. Okay, and what I want you to make sure to do is that, guess what? If I ever get a little bit off of that, can you remind me I was supposed to ring the bell? Thank you, right? So talking to other people about your goals, present yourself in a way that you can create accountability for yourself about what you want to achieve, right? And the last thing is to protect that, okay? What does that mean? In sales and whatever you want to do, it's always about your attitude. It's our ability to protect the goal that you created. And guess what? Life is going to present you with things that are going to be thrown at you that are going to try to tear down that picture that you created initially. And so you have to protect that goal. Okay? Guess what? You know what? Going to work, guess what? Most people have problems before you go to work, and you're probably going to have problems after you go to work. But dealing with your problems during work is not going to help you. So understand you have to protect your mentality during what you're doing so that you're not bringing home to work or bringing work home, right? Protect that attitude, right? Other people, okay? Let me tell you, I always, when we were talking about in the field, we always say people with a bad attitude always want company, right? People never want to feel bad alone.
Sympathy.
Right. Yeah, they need that too, right? But the problem is, guess what? I'm having a bad day. Guess what? Having a bad day alone is not fun. So let me tell you about how bad my day is and how bad your day probably will be, right? Guess what? One of the things I used to do, especially a lot of times in our offices, was that making sure to let people know, guess what? If you're dealing with something, let's learn to contain that and keep that away from everybody else, right? Protect your team, protect yourself, right? And that means willingness. Okay, guess what? Everyone knows that John is the one of those people. So guess what? Don't go around John. Protect yourself. Protect your mentality, right? Unfortunately, sometimes we have people, friends, spouses, sometimes that maybe they're the people who bring things down all the time. Well, to protect yourself, protect your mentality, and protect yourself internally, learn to be like, okay, I might have to stay away from that person. Maybe I don't need to hear about those things now, right? Learning that if I can produce these 3 Ps, I'm going to be more likely to hit my goals today. So working on the 3 Ps going there. I think another thing is great. I like to talk about is like really learning to know your numbers. What do I mean by that? Okay, a lot of sales is about a process and it's about numbers. Okay, and so there's a certain amount of maybe presentations or calls you need to do. There's a certain number of presentations you're going to have to do, certain amount of closes you're going to have to do to achieve to get a sale, okay? The only problem is sometimes people just go through the motions and don't actually know your numbers. Well, you got to know your numbers for yourself, right? So a lot of times there's some people when you first start, you might need to talk to 30 people, right? You might have to talk to 30 people to actually get a sale. Well, you should know your numbers. So when you know your ratios, okay, if it takes me 30 people 30 people, maybe do 12 presentations, maybe do five closes, yields me 1 sale. Well, then when you know your numbers, then you know what you have to do to double it to achieve your goals. Okay, so great. If I need to do 2 sales, how many people do I need to talk to? I need to talk to 60 people. Learn that sales is a numbers game, but if you don't know your numbers, you can't use your numbers to help you achieve your goals. So learning that knowing your numbers only helps you. By not knowing your numbers, you're actually going randomly hoping today, I just feel like talking to only 4 people today and hopefully I'll get a sale. Well, you know that last time it took you to ever get a sale, you know that you at least need to talk to 30 people. And you told me this week that you wanted to have 6 sales. So you should know how many people that means that you need to talk to. So knowing your numbers is something that's crucial for yourself so that you can study your numbers and more importantly to when I want to hit goals, making sure I multiply that correctly so we actually hit our goals. I like this one, okay? Breaking down when things go wrong, right? I'm sure that, guys, a lot of times in your sales days or sales weeks, there are times that things are going wrong, Oh, wow, like today's just not one of those days, right? Or, I'm just getting, things are just not going my way, okay? And one of the things that people understand is that, great salespeople and people who are successful, what they have the ability is to learn how to focus on a certain moment. So usually when things are going wrong, people usually are going in 2 places. They think of the past, okay? Or they think of the future. Let me explain. So what happens is that you think of the past. When your things are going wrong, what you're really thinking about is, wow, I remember the last time this didn't work. I remember the last time I was put in this situation, how was I able to do well? I wasn't able to do well, right? Or concurrently, sometimes you think about the future. So you say, okay, if I don't hit these goals, what's going to happen, right? Maybe if I don't get this sale, I don't know how I'm going to pay for that bill. If I don't achieve these many sales, how am I gonna hit my quota for the week? You think about the future. But what the best thing you could do, what the best people do, is they understand that it's not to focus on the past, not to focus on the future, but to focus on the present, right? They say the present is a gift, right? The reason why is because in the moment is when you have the most opportunity to change your future. Unfortunately, if you're thinking about the past, you're not focusing on who's in front of you. If you're thinking about the future, you're also not focusing on who's in front of you. You're not focusing on the opportunities that are actually coming now. So learn when things start to go wrong. I know it's natural to think of the past or think of the future, but start to focus on the present and recognize in the moment, what can I actually do to change my situation? Always remember, the next person coming doesn't know how long you were there. The next person coming doesn't know how many no's you took in a row. The next person coming doesn't know how many houses I've already shown this place to, how many people I showed this car to, how many pre-sales or insurance conversations I've already had before you. The thing is, they don't know that. And so what the things they do know is, who is the person that's in front of them right now? That person deserves from you to give that 100% effort that the first person you got is the same way you need to give on the 500th presentation or the 50th presentation, so that you can focus on the present, so that you can actually make a difference with people there. Conversations. Okay, boom. And I'll leave you with this last one, right? It's an acronym, okay? And it deals with your mentality. W, right? Everything, you always remember, everything starts with your why. Why did you even enter this position? Why being successful is important to you? What does it mean for you? Why do you need to work hard, and what are you working hard for? Having goals, making sure that you always start with your why. Understanding why not. You know, when you're not where you need to be, ask yourself, why not, right? What haven't I done? What haven't I learned? What things have I not achieved? This is the reason why not I'm in the position that I want to be today. And the next thing is, why not you? A lot of times in life that we're put in positions where we see other people doing what we're doing, and we see them doing well. We see them rising. But the problem is that we think about other people and the fact that, what's so special about them? Maybe what advantages do they have? But in reality, what we need to tell ourselves is that, well, why not you, right? Why are not you in the position where you need to be? And what have we done? And last but not least, I always say, why not you now, right? You have the ability to make a difference today. And that always understanding that if you are willing to put the effort in, put it consistently, work it over and over, you will be able to achieve things. You just got to be put on the effort. And so these are some concepts that obviously, you don't have to know everything. You don't have to memorize everything. But these are concepts that if we're able to focus on certain things, we're actually going to be able to achieve a lot more. And so what we want to do is just go over certain things that we got from today, or maybe a nugget that stuck out to you. And we're just going to go through the room and let's talk about what today, maybe what we talked about, stuck out to you.
Is just focusing on the motivation.
Okay.
For why you're doing what you're doing. And every once in a while, you just have to go back there and remind yourself why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Nice.
For me, the thing that got me the most was know your numbers. That's where that I've had the most problem all my life. And that's why I'm going to get the training and the coaching, because I need that structure to know how it's like everything starts from there, right?
That's very true.
If I don't know my numbers, good luck.
Yeah. If it's not measured,
Exactly.
it's not there.
And that's where I
Okay.
We'll work on that.
Simono.
I definitely enjoyed the 3 Ps, because I think it's definitely important when you're looking at what you're doing, understanding the importance of the vision and seeing the big picture. I like how you broke down, that if we don't picture what we see in the end, then we're less likely to achieve it. And then how you said to promote it, talk about it not only to others, but also have an accountability partner to hold you accountable to make sure that you achieve the vision that you're talking about, you're picturing for yourself, and then protecting it. That we built these goals and our own discipline, lack of discipline, or
Right.
others are going to try to do what they can do to prevent us from meeting that vision or that goal, and so we have to protect it.
Protect
and
it.
do what we need to do, and so I really enjoyed that. So thank you so much.
Right.
For me, it was talking about the 3 zones, and that if you're in a comfort zone, you're really not learning,
Right.
not moving forward.
And I think that's definitely one of the biggest things that even I had to learn was like, unfortunately, sometimes, a lot of times in life, you start to get good at what you do. And then what happens, you start getting comfortable again, right? And then we start forgetting, wait, you know what? What are the things and the actions and the notions that got you where you are? But we stopped actually doing those things, right? And that's the reason why there's a difference why there are people who constantly are going to keep moving in life, who are going to keep achieving, is because they recognize that things that got them there, you always actually still need to do that. And being uncomfortable is something that a lot of great people understand is necessary for them to move forward.
Well, that's why we have to always remind ourselves about our need for discomfort to be successful.
Right.
I mean, you can use sports analogies all you want. Offensive and defensive linemen, they practice technique every day. Now, they've been practicing that kind of stuff, the blocking and tackling in football, for example, or Steph Curry on his free throws.
Right.
Even though he's a high 90s shooter, guess what he does every day? He practices free throws in the hundreds, and all NBA players do something. Well, not all, but
Unfortunately.
but so many of them do. And so we always have to just keep reminding ourselves that once we get good at something, to David's point, we create our own comfort zone, and then we shift into it. Well, you got to get out of that comfort zone, and you got to keep learning and relearning and relearning and reminding yourself that that's the case. And that's one of the things that we'll always do. Accountability, Maria, to your point. We just always have to be, in front of people saying, okay, well, this is where you're at today. Where are you going to be tomorrow? And so anyway, David, great job.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you so much.
What is something that you picked up?
What I picked up was exactly what I just said, was that I don't like discomfort either. I don't like it at all.
Most people do, right?
And so, but I know that when I am in a place that's not my comfort zone, the first thing I want to do is make it my comfort zone.
There you go.
So, and then I'll have to, obviously, like I just said,
Right.
move on to another discomfort zone.
Yes.
But so anyway, that's that. Okay. Thank you so much, David, once again. My name is John Waechter, as many of you already know, but I want to go back to what I started last week and finish that off. And the title of this particular session is the 50 plus ways to leave your lover. No, the 50 plus ways to generate leads, and most of them are either or can be orchestrated to be low cost or no cost. And so I just want to review that. Last week we talked about commercials, television commercials, radio commercials, local radio shows. We've got a guy that David's already very familiar with, Pastor John, who does a radio show on the weekends, and it's a really great avenue, and he's very accommodating. So if you've got something that you want to promote on the radio, you can just talk to David or myself, and we'll hook you up with Pastor John, and he's got a very nice show, and that gets a lot of stuff. We talked about newspapers and print ads and inserts and stickers and things along those lines that could be done. And I was talking last week about, there are a lot more publications out in the world than we even acknowledge. And I didn't bring my props out, but I wanted just to bring some examples for business people. Just Inside Tucson Business is a great publication that you can promote your business and get some things done. I brought this for our reverse mortgage person, but it can be applicable to everybody. And this is the Pima County of Aging. So this is a periodical that's published. I believe it's monthly. It's available for free almost anywhere. Here's just like the split of advertising. These programs are not going to cost a lot, and we've got a client, Cindy, who most of you know, who is reverse mortgage, and reverse mortgage is only applicable to somebody in the household that is 62 or over. That would be an excellent publication. And owns the property and wants to live there forever, or wants to buy one. And so, because you can also buy a property on a reverse mortgage and then never have to make a payment ever if you don't so choose. If you want to build equity, you do that, but this is not a promotion for reverse mortgage. But it's just that there's just tons of little niche magazines. Here's Natural Awakenings. So if you're in the healthcare space or the homeopathic space or whatever, in the alternative medicines of all kinds, you should probably consider talking to Holly Baker, the publisher, and just say, okay, what can I do to help promote myself through that particular deal? And this is something, Raising Arizona. Now this is a summer publication, so it's probably quarterly. First time I've ever seen this was this week, but it's just all about life in Arizona and raising kids in Arizona and all the things that you can do. So it's just, when it comes to print, we do discount print a little bit more than we should in this day and age, I do believe, because of the rise in technology and the rise of the digital marketplace and all that kind of stuff, which is good, and that's got to be very much a part of your marketing mix. But there's probably well over 100 different niche publications that are out there. A lot of them are free at the public libraries. A lot of them you'll see in little magazine carts at coffee shops or Whole Foods or your doctor's offices or wherever. So just keep in mind that the only reason these things exist is because somebody somewhere is driving value from them. Now there are probably, most of them are all for profit, so they're earning some kind of money. Okay, they're also, most of them are free or very very low cost to subscribe to. Most of them all have digital counterparts that you can just get on and request the digital stuff. So, I've written articles before, and I do a whole print versus digital and why that is the wrong question. In other words, it's not an either or world. It's a both world. You got to be in all those places wherever you define your target market to be, and you have to go through that. So we talked also about public service announcements and billboards and direct mail, and I'm not exactly sure exactly where I left off last time, but we're going to start with business cards. Pardon me? Left off? Okay. So business cards are a staple and they are the most fundamental of all business communications to allow people what you know. A lot of people don't carry business cards on a regular basis. You know, we've always taught that you should have 5 business cards on you when you leave the house every morning, and your goal is to have none when you return to your house or office every evening. So we kind of like teach, and your number might be 10 or whatever your number is, but we say 5, and if we can actually introduce ourselves to 5 new people each and every day, and they've got our business card and you've got theirs hopefully, then guess what? 5 a day is 25 a week. 25 a week times 52 weeks. Do the math, and all of a sudden, before you know it, you've got a really, really nice, large, at the end of the year, composite of people that you just met that year. And you reach out to them with a follow-up kind of thing. So often in networking, way too often than we would ever feel comfortable with, is you go to a networking event, and we do a variety of networking events, and I didn't review those like I said I would. So I'll get to that before we wrap. But but so often you meet a person, you know, you got a card? No, I didn't bring any, or I don't have one, or you know, or it's not as bad, but I personally am a little bit old school. They say, well, I'll give me your phone number, I'll text you my card, because all I have is a digital version, which is fine, and it's an alternative, but it's a break in the rapport building when you've got to stop the presses and stop learning about somebody, and then grab your phone and say, my number is 520, you know, and did you get it? Oh, no, you know, so it's a wasted minute or two. Now, when you're talking about know your numbers, when you're going to a networking session, you got to also know your numbers. Because if it's an hour networking session, for example, and you want to walk out with 5 contacts, okay, then that means you've got, and maybe your number's 10, maybe your number's 3, doesn't really matter, but you have to budget your time, and you have to understand where you might be wasting your time or spending too much time talking, or converting it into more of a social gathering rather than a business gathering. So you got to know your numbers. So, you know, an hour divided by 5 is 12 minutes, you know, so you might come to the conclusion that if I'm going to get my 5 in an hour, then don't use my old 12 up, so give yourself a budget of, say, 8 minutes. That means at 40 minutes, and that gives me 20 minutes to, if I have to run to the restroom, or if I have to do something else other than network. So you got to know your numbers in a networking situation too, and the best way to make sure that you understand and keep track of your targeting objectives is to carry business cards. And you know how many is in your pocket when you start, and you know how many is in your pocket when you leave, and that's then if your differential is right on budget, that means you've given out your 5 cards, and you've got 5 cards that you didn't have before, and as a result, you can now follow them up, and that makes that networking event a personal success because you followed your numbers. So business cards are really important. Flyers too, especially now in the digital world. You know, you can make a flyer for absolutely no cost. There is free software everywhere that you can do some sort of you know, low budget, you know, even if it's amateurish in some way. But there's just enough tools there that are for free that you should have flyers that basically represent everything that you do, you know. So, and every time you go to an email or send somebody a prospect or one of those 5 people that you now have their business cards because you went to a networking event, send them one of your flyers. You know, whether it's I'm a finance professional, send them a finance or a kind of a little you know, did you know type type of nugget so that they can actually get a little bit more insight as to what you do. So flyers are really, really important, and they're really cheap and they're really easy these days. Brochures, for sure. Brochures are as old as the hills. You can convert a flyer to a brochure digitally for very little cost or no cost, and you can have them printed off fairly easily, especially if you do like 100 of them or something like that. They're not going to be no cost once you start printing, because paper and ink and all that kind of stuff is got a cost attached to it, a physical quantifiable cost. And that's the good part, is you know exactly, if you've got $100, you can get X amount of flyers for that $100 at a print shop or something like that. And door hangers too, especially in an apartment complex like this. Just make yourself a digital door hanger and have it printed off. You've got magnetic signs for the cars. They're very inexpensive, or car wraps, if you will, to promote your business. You got banners, and you got testimonials, and you got all kinds of ways now to incorporate testimonials. You've got written testimonials, you've got testimonials on emails, you've got testimonials on video, which are more and more popular all the time. And you can put those video testimonials on your website, and you can just do so much with them. And like we always say, if I say something about myself, it's hearsay or bragging or boasting. But if you say something about me, well, then it's real, it's solid, it's truthful, and it's verifiable. And so testimonials are always highly recommended in all things. And we put a bunch of testimonials on donzavis.com. We do it on our Facebook pages, on our LinkedIn pages. We actually send them out when we receive them. And I will always cut and paste them and put them into a nice little schmaltzy little graphic as an inset, and send it out, and send it to all the people that I think would benefit from knowing that this person just gave me a huge recommendation or a huge testimonial. Testimonials are very, very inexpensive, and absolutely little expense at all, if any, and they're extremely, extremely valuable. We always talk about becoming a subject matter expert. And I know Larry was here last time, and he was talking about, during the learning verification session at the end, he mentioned articles. And articles are really, really important. I've written articles on employee turnover costs, on media, on print versus digital, like I mentioned earlier, as well as a variety of other subjects on strategic planning and how to do a values identification exercise in a facilitation group. And so articles are really, really important for a couple of reasons. Not only do people read them, because you can get them in publications like this. All you got to do is call the publisher, and in most of these cases, the publishers are just another person trying to make a buck, looking for content, looking for some value add that his readers might find valuable. But an article also structures your thinking, because you've got to create that article. And when you create that article, you don't just start writing. You start thinking about the article and what you want to accomplish out of the article. And then all of a sudden, once your brain starts formalizing a structure around the article, that triggers your brain to start developing valuable content. And so the article has really got a couple of really good, valuable pieces to it. It helps you think through the situation that you're trying to think through, and then when the reader sees that and the reader reads that, then all of a sudden, boom, it hits. And that's the two-way communication from author to reader, and then that relationship mentally becomes the basis of your subject matter expertise. So article writing is really, really important, and I wanted to make sure that, and I appreciate Larry for last week pointing that out. White papers is another thing. It's just a deeper dive. A white paper has a lot more research in it, and a white paper is also no cost to you to do if you know what you want to write about, and you have the capability of doing your own research. Then you write a white paper and publish it on LinkedIn and print it off and give it to your supervisors or give it to your peers. Let them know that you're actually thinking about this subject all the time, and then you become a subject matter expert over time. Telemarketing campaigns. You hate cold calls. I don't know anybody naturally that loves cold calls, but talk about discomfort zone, David.
Yeah.
When you're sitting there making a cold call, you know, that can be very, very uncomfortable because you have no clue what's going on. However, if you know your numbers, for every 100 calls you're going to get, you're going to get an average of 2 people that want to know a little bit more and will take the digital flyer or talk to you a little bit, and there's going to be 98 people who previously never heard your name ever or anything about it. And they may hang up on you, they may tell you to, you know what, you never know, but they know your name. They've been exposed to you. So, you know, we had a telemarketing program for years, $1 a call, regardless, you know. So we would just sit there with a spread, you know, you give us the 250 callers, we'll knock that out in a day or two. We'll give you an Excel spreadsheet that just says, okay, no, wrong number, no, you know, yes, no, send flyers, whatever, and cost you $250, and you'll probably get like 5 solid leads out of it. All because you embraced your discomfort zone and what didn't back out of it. Email campaigns.
From the 250, they were buying somebody to make those calls, or you were selling them a call list?
The former. They would give me the list, and we would make the calls for them. Because they didn't.
That's a bargain.
They did
Why
not.
are you not doing it now?
We are. But this is not a sales session, unless you want it to be. But the fact of the matter is, yeah, that's just a telemarketing service that we could do that. And but what it does is, you know, it kind of is a bittersweet pill because it allows somebody to outsource their discomfort,
Yes.
which can be good and it can be bad, you know, because if you always just pay for everything that is discomfortable or uncomfortable to you, then that's not really professionally development as we see it.
You're not growing. Yeah.
But, you know, hey, if you want to throw me $250,
hey,
I'll take it.
take it.
You know? Yeah.
I think it's,
You know?
I paid for somebody to box floors too.
Well, that's true too. Email campaigns. We all know what that is. You know, we've all gotten emails every day, and there are all kinds of firms out there. Some of them are free, some of them are low cost, some of them are popular, some of them are not very popular in terms of brand recognition and name. But you know, an email campaign can be very, very valuable in this day and age. There's just no question about it. As well as a newsletter. You know, we send out a newsletter every Monday to everybody that is a client of ours at Don Zavis Sales Consulting. So every Monday they get an idea of what's happening for the week in terms of a calendar type of summary, and then we promote our own services that we provide to our various clients, depending upon what their needs are. But we've summarized all that in a newsletter, And at the Arizona Sands Club in the networking sessions, we also always send out reminders, newsletter type reminders of what's coming up this next week, and where you can find me, Don Zavis, Bruce Grant, as far as the Sands Club is concerned. If we're going to meet the first Thursday of the month at Skyline Club, things like that. So newsletters are really, really a easy, no cost. You just got to invest a little bit of time because you have to write it, and then you have to look at your address book and convert your address book to some sort of email distribution and or newsletter distribution. So those are easy. Highly recommend. Maria.
Okay, I have a question on that. Very, very interesting. How do you build, or how do you build your list of the people, and how do you send those videos? Because I'm not that techy. This one sounds interesting.
Yeah. The best way is just over time, just accumulate. If you're out there in the networking world, you just build your database 1 week at a time, and all those business cards, you go in and you put their information into a spreadsheet and put all the emails in one long column, and you can just click on that column and copy and paste it over to your email or to your newsletter. And it's very simple and easy. You can use other people's lists, or if you have like possibly the people you're affiliated with might have a list of names that you could send things to under your realtor guys, under that kind of stuff. They probably have a pretty substantial list, But it's like anything else. It takes discipline to get that done. And a lot of times, you run out of time, or you start to forget about it or something like that. But getting those people that you've just met with or had coffee with, so it takes time. There's no question about it. So, for instance, our first Sands Club meeting as a networking facilitator, we had 5 people there, and 2 of them were Don and myself, So it was basically the 3 of us. It was 2.5 years ago, in January of 2021, and so we had 5 people. Now our database of everybody that's attended the Sands Club networking is almost 400, and there's usually anywhere between 40 and 50 people there, each and every session twice a month. But it takes time. It takes word of mouth, and it takes promotion. You got to spread the word. You got to be out in the world to spread the world. And so when you're out in the world, you just got to make sure that you just meet people and understand what they do, and grab those cards and get them in your database. And so when they get that newsletter from you, they go, oh, what's Maria got going this week? It's very accommodating. And even though we've got close to 400 in that database, I only receive a request to be removed from the database like maybe once a month. People just read them. And they say, okay, good, it's nice to know, Or they'll say, oh, thanks for reminding me, kind of a deal, and I'll show up. And I'll be there, and I'll be out in the world and all that kind of stuff. So newsletters are really, really good. So are webinars. Webinars are really have taken off a lot thanks to the pandemic, if you want to think anything about the pandemic. But webinars is one of those types of deals that it just became second nature in the pandemic to learn from a webinar or to find somebody's webinar, and that's similar to a podcast that we'll get to in a second. But webinars have become just such more of a natural state of being and state of existence, and so webinars, seminars, and also workshops, your website, blogs, all those kinds of things, videos. If videos are not in your comfort zone, that's a really, really great place to start, because being in front of a camera is not everyone's availability. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but now every smartphone in the world has got a camera, and we work with clients all the time on how to do 1-minute videos. You know, it doesn't matter if you're walking the streets of downtown, or if you're out in the woods, or if you're poolside or whatever. It doesn't really matter. Give us a 1-minute nugget of your profession, your life, you know, your expertise. Use that as a way to become, you know, a subject matter expertise in your field. You know, I get Maria, I get real estate videos all the time on LinkedIn and Facebook, all the time. 1-minute deals. Mortgage people, the same way. Jerry Sunt, VP of Cross Country Mortgage. Every Friday afternoon, he does a 1-minute or a 2-minute video, and goes to all of his, you know, it just goes via email to all of his folks, and it's on his Facebook page and on his LinkedIn. So it's just, and I don't always watch it, but it's only a minute. So most times I do.
One of my marketing organizations talks about a bomb video. Is that what you're talking about, a 1-minute thing?
I don't know that term. Simona, do you know any of the term bomb video?
Bomb?
Yeah.
I do.
Do you?
Yes, it's like you do an email with a video instead of
Attachment.
typing. It's like an application, and it's on your email. So you just do, instead of writing the email, you send that video with that email.
Yeah. It would be like a video testimonial, except it's not a testimonial. It's more of a educational thing, I would guess. You know.
Sounds like it's a service, like a, kind of like a built-in service that
MailChimp.
It's part of the app.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. All right. Well, we're running really out of time. David, you want to join us up here? But just to wrap up quickly, podcasts. We've got Facebook reviews, Google reviews. You know, ask your friends and family and clients. Ask them. Don't be afraid. Ask them. Give me a review, and send them the damn link so they can just click and give you your 5 stars, and they're done. It's seconds, you know. But they don't know that until you tell them. You know, it's all about promote. Promote yourself all the time. These are 50+ ways that you can promote yourself, you can generate leads, you can become the subject matter expert in your field of study, and you can let everybody know what you do. Again, as I said at the outset the other day, last week, don't try to do all 50. Just pick 5. Pick 5 that you're comfortable with. Oops. Pick one that you're uncomfortable with, and pick 4 that you are comfortable with, and then pick one that's not, and just get to know it, and then once that is all done, because these are low or no cost, then just go ahead and shift. Throw in another couple that are germane to your business, and just promote the hell out of yourself. That's how you get known in this world. Okay, let's go around the room real quick and say, what did you get from my segment, or want to comment on anything David had to say from earlier, or?
Well, from your segment, I hadn't quite put it in this context of that if you're like writing an article that you're immediately, you know,
Yeah, and even if you don't have a known outlet, you know, planned runway, throw it on your LinkedIn website, because they have an article, you know, write a post, write an article, put an article in there, go to pexels.com, P-E-X-E-L-S, find a picture, a free picture that you can copy, and just put into your article as a subset. And when you're writing an article, try to find 2 or 3 hyperlinks that are important. Google will suck that up. They love valid hyperlinks, not hyperlinks for hyperlink reason, but if you actually read an article and it spurred a thought, put the hyperlink in for that article, and that'll get picked up on Google's software, and they'll see that this person is writing an intelligent article. It's of value. It's got some research in it. It'll send people to different websites that you've hyperlinked, and the Google algorithms will just suck that stuff up.
I have a quick question on that. So where would you put those, I mean, you're talking about the article and putting the hyperlinks there.
Yeah.
Where would you write those articles where you can include the hyperlinks? Like in LinkedIn, like you just said? Or?
Yeah. I write them all in a Word doc, and then I cut and paste onto LinkedIn. I mean, that's just how I do it, but you can do it any way you want. I'm always afraid Comcast will boot me off in the middle of my article and I'll lose everything. Yeah. So I get it. I finish it all in a Word doc. So what else did you get?
Well, mine is I did not know that on a spreadsheet you can get all those email addresses, copy and paste them in one email, and everybody will know about you. So
Yeah.
what I was thinking on doing while you were talking was going to do a database of people that I knew on networking or contractors, past clients, leads that I've had. I have 1,000 leads sitting there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things that I can do, like buyer leads, seller leads that have not bought or sold a home.
Do you have in the drawer at home like 1,000 business cards in a rubber band? You know, know your numbers. Tackle 10 a day.
That's it.
Tackle 10 a day.
Make things smaller.
Yeah.
Is there a free level of constant contact to get you started with that sort of thing?
I'm not exactly sure about constant contact, but there are many.
MailChimp?
Yeah. There's a free version of MailChimp. There is a free. There's probably a free constant. I don't know.
I think that's how they get you
But
started.
all you got to do is Google free email service, and they'll come at you faster than you can drink out of a fire hose. You know that's just the way it is. Do you use any specific application in terms of emails or
MailChimp.
MailChimp? Okay, yeah,
Yep.
very popular.
Yeah.
You know, I think HubSpot as a marketing CRM has also got an application that's you know, you get on those websites and they've got, you know, the good, better, best programs, and there's always a free version typically, and then there's a bronze, and then there's a gold, and there's a platinum, and they check all the boxes, and with this you get this, you know. So, you know, you get what you pay for, and if you want to stay in the free market, that's fine. I use it a lot. If you want to upgrade to do some other types of customer relationship management type of applications, well, then you can pay a little bit more. So, and none of them are punitive. I mean, it's like $15 a month or something like that to upgrade. You know, Joan, what did you?
Since you mentioned them the last time and you re-mentioned this time, I've been on the lookout for these publications. And as I'm doing business, like waiting for my car repair, I'm looking to see these things, but I have to go on the hunt for them. They're not coming.
That's exactly right.
There's one called Coffee News.
Coffee News. That's Leanne Harriman. Yeah, she's a Don Zavis sales consulting client, and so Don's Ugly Mug will be there in every week's Coffee News for. Hi, Don. And so no, that's Coffee News is really breakfast restaurants and coffee shops and things like that.
Car repair. I was doing, can television, starts with a K, down on Thornydale. And every time I went in,
Clipper or something like that?
um,
Something like that.
yeah,
Something like that. Okay.
it's got away from me, but, everything that they advertise in is in their waiting room.
Yeah.
And I saw the coffee news.
The coffee news in there.
I think I saw that in a doctor's office.
Yeah, there's a variety of coffee newses in town. Dale, is it Barnett? I forget. He's got the coffee news. Clipper, yeah. He's got the coffee news franchise more in central Tucson. Leanne has got the coffee news up here on the northwest side, and also the one in Green Valley, Sarita type of stuff. So there's a variety of different ones, but they're very inexpensive to advertise in, and they are they're just around in all the places where you have time. You're waiting for your omelet. You're waiting for your coffee.
I don't go out.
And they're usually around, and she self-distributes, so she does not go through a distributor. So she has her and I don't know who helps her,
Actually
but
does it, yeah.
but she actually is responsible for the distribution. So if it's not there, Simona.
I think, the same thing that she got with when you talked about the articles,
Yeah.
like, it made me think back when I had to write articles and, it made me, kind of structure, like when I wasn't sure exactly where I was gonna start or what I was gonna say, but as I just kind of started writing, then it helped me structure, like, oh, okay, this would be valuable content.
Yeah. Well, you've seen our session on why workshops work.
Yes.
Why workshops work is the exact same situation. You sponsor an event, you create your own workshop because that gets your mind saying, on paper, this is what I need to be doing and I'm not doing it.
Yep, right.
David, last word.
Yeah, I think obviously probably the article one, but I don't want to maybe repeat that. I think another thing I liked what you were talking about was just sometimes recognizing, like, we have there's always self-promotion, like recognizing, everyone, your job is to let everyone know what you're actually doing. And I think we forget that, every opportunity you have to let somebody know what you do for a living is an opportunity. Literally, wherever you're going, when you're meeting people, let them know what you're doing. And sometimes you forget that. Like, what, I sort of put on my work hat, or
Yeah.
maybe, instead of recognizing that you have to embody you have to embody that person. And so, wherever you are, letting people know that's exactly what you do. Because like he said, sometimes it's the fact that I know John, we both know John. That's why now we're going to be promoting John. Because John always tells us, no matter what, he's running a radio show. But because of that, now it's in my head. When somebody brings it up, oh, I don't do radio, I'm going to talk about John. Well, in the same reason, whatever you do, be the person who talks about it enough, so that somebody says, you know what, I do remember somebody,
It's not the easiest discipline in the world,
Right.
because some of us just aren't naturally that way.
Yeah.
And so you got to constantly remind yourself, boom, if I am out and about, it's showtime, period. It's always showtime. You got to be at the event. You always got to be spot on. And as Don would say, shameless self-promotion.
Another thing I think the one that I didn't do that I got from was the 2 business cards thing.
Oh, yeah.
That one, I just didn't know that, So it's like, okay, you're right, like you just say you give one for them and say one to give to somebody else.
Yes, and you ask for 2.
Right.
And you tell them,
same
I need
thing.
one, but I'll keep one in case my friend over here
There you go.
needs it.
Yeah.
So it gives the immediate connection that, oh hell, they want to promote me too.
Referral. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, that was the cool one.
All right, we got to get out of here. It's late. Any way you slice it, it's late. So once again, on behalf of David and myself, John Waechter, we want to thank you for being part of our streaming service and being here in the audience and being such a great interactive contributory force. And if you are ever around on Friday at 9 o'clock in the Old Pueblo, we are at Encantada at Steam Pump in the auditorium at the luxury apartment complex. And so We wish you great selling and have a wonderful July 4th weekend. And we'll be good to go and ready here, busting at the chops next Friday, same time.